Hello, here with a video, probably my last one of the year, and it's one I did last year, and it now seems to be a yearly tradition. It's becoming my albums of the year. So what I'm going to do here is rank all the albums that I've bought, the new albums that have come out in 2024 that I've listened to, that I've enjoyed. Last year I had 6 for 2023. If I remember, I'll link my 2023 video down below. If I forget, sorry, just go on my channel and scroll down. I think I've reviewed most of these albums. So if I have reviewed any of the albums on this list, I will link them down below so you can see the reviews, more in depth of what I think of each of these albums. Now, like I say, this year I've got 7, I think, if my counting here is correct. And, you know, yeah, these are 7 albums that have come out in 2024. But to me as well, new music might be this year I've discovered an album from like the 60s or the 70s or the 80s. To me, that's new music. It doesn't matter when it came out. But for the purpose of this video, we are just going to focus purely on albums that came out this year. So before we get on to the 7 albums here, I'd like to briefly talk a little bit about 2 other albums that aren't on the main list, but they could easily have been on the main list had I been a bit more familiar with them. So one of them, I've got them written down here in case I forget their names. So these aren't going to be like 9th and 8th or anything like that. They're just, you know, they haven't got a place on the list. So the first one I'd like to mention is Billie Eilish's album that came out this year. What's it called? Hit Me Hard and Soft. I don't own this album on vinyl. I've listened to it once or twice and I actually think it's really good. The 2 singles from the album, Birds of a Feather and Lunch, I think are 2 fantastic songs. I really have enjoyed them and listened to them 2 songs quite a lot this year. The rest of the album that I'm not massively familiar with, which is why I've not put it on this list. The other album that I've got on here is Romance by Fontaines DC. Everybody at the minute seems to be going around saying Fontaines are the best band in the world, ooh. So I thought, I'm going to have to give this album a listen since people are making out it's the second coming. And I've never been as disappointed in all my life in an album. It just seemed a bit, I don't want to call it shit, but underwhelming. I mean, I've only listened to it once, so maybe I need to listen to it more and it might grow on me. But yeah, based on my one listen, it's not made any impact on me. It's not made me want to go and listen to it again anyway. So I thought I'd mention that one just in case, since everyone seems to be talking about that album, anyone wonders why I haven't got it on this list. Anyway, let's get into this list of albums that I do own and I do like. So 7th place this year, we have got Pink Cactus Cafe by Cortinas. This came out in October. I haven't reviewed this album. I know on my 1,000 subscriber video, I think I said this would be my next video. It wasn't my next video and I'm not going to be reviewing it because I've not really got any passion or desire to go out and review this album. Now it's a good album, this, don't get me wrong. It's a good Cortinas album in terms of like an album, in terms of every other album that exists. It's not that great, but in terms of Cortinas albums, it's a good Cortinas album. And I'll explain kind of what I mean by that. So with Cortinas, they're a funny band because they're a great live band, but I would not sit here and listen to their albums. I own all their albums as well, but I don't sit and listen to them. I don't know why I bought this one, to be honest. Probably just for collection's sake, for the sake of owning it. But in terms of seeing them live, fantastic live band, and somehow whenever I see them live, I never listen to them, I somehow know all the words, so I don't know how I've managed to do that. Anyway, in terms of the standout track on this song, I would have to say that the title track, Pink Cactus Cafe, for me at least, is the standout song. I think it's a really good Cortinas song. I've only seen them live once this year, which was when they were at Transmit. They were second on the bill, in my opinion. They should have been headlining. Better than Jerry Cinnamon, who's shit. But anyway, they did do Solitude of the Night Bus, which is another standout, which is another good track. I wouldn't say it's a standout, it's a good song, Solitude of the Night Bus. I also like Sweet Surrender, the opening track, which has Brooke Combe on it. But otherwise, it's all right. I mean, I didn't go and see them on the tour they did in November. I think it was November. But yeah, maybe I should have done it. Maybe I'd have enjoyed some of these songs more. But since I haven't reviewed it, I'm getting it out to show you. So that's the artwork, front cover, the back cover. There you go, just lyrics and personnel. I bought this one off the official store, which is the Mirrorball vinyl, which looks quite nice, to be fair. It does look very nice, really like it. So yeah, I've listened to it a few times, but it's the Cortinas. It's just Cortinas music, isn't it? It's nothing extraordinary, shall we say. I will say though, I do like the artwork. I maybe said that already, I can't remember, but I do think that is genuinely very good artwork. It's very sort of psychedelic. It's kind of like the last Oasis album, the artwork for this, Dig Out Your Soul. Similar to that in some ways. So yeah, that'll be my number 7. I don't think I've got anything else to say here other than it's quite psychedelic in places, this album. But otherwise, yeah, that's my 7th place for this year, Pink Cactus Cafe. Okie dokie then, folks. Coming in at number 6, we have Liam Gallagher and John Squire. I think the album's called Liam Gallagher, John Squire. So, this album came out back in March. Was it February or March? I think it was March. And normally, if you've seen my videos, reviews of Liam Gallagher albums, I don't really care for Liam's solo stuff. I don't listen to it a lot. And yet, this album, I've really enjoyed it. And it's weird because a lot of people don't like this album. It seems to be, right, the people who didn't like Who Built the Moon, Noel Gallagher's album, when Noel went off and did something a little different, a little bit experimental, plus all those EPs, the people who didn't like all that don't seem to like this album either. And yeah, that's one of the things I love about this album. It's Liam getting pushed out of his comfort zone. He's doing something different rather than his run-of-the-mill Oasis tribute thing he did with his solo stuff. And I think obviously a lot of that is down to John Squire. Now, it's great to have John Squire back on this album, but I do think where it falls short is its lyrics. I don't know how it worked with the Stone Roses. I don't know if John Squire wrote the music and Ian Brown wrote the lyrics. I don't know it well enough to know that. But, I mean, the lyrics on here aren't great. Anyway, I will show you this copy I have anyway, the actual vinyl. I've showed it on I have reviewed this one, so go and watch that review if you want to see the in-depth review. But it's a Zoetrope from Blood Records, this one. So there you go, the front cover, the front of it, sorry. And the other side of it. It's alright. It's not the best artwork in the world, I should say. I think it's John Squire that designed it. It's shit artwork, actually. Let's not beat around the bush. Anyway, in terms of the music on it, for me, Mars to Liverpool is a standout track. I think Mars to Liverpool should have been the lead single off this album. I have absolutely no idea why Just Another Rainbow was made the lead single. Because it's not a great song. But there's a lot of great stuff on here, in my opinion. Hang on, what I wrote down as my favourites on here. Raise Your Hands, One Day at a Time. I'm a Wheel. I like I'm a Wheel, it's very bluesy. Make It Up As You Go Along, I'm So Bored, Mother Nature's Song. They're all great songs. The only one really on this album that I don't think is that great is Just Another Rainbow. And that was the lead single. I think they lost a lot of people in making that the lead single. Yeah, Mars to Liverpool should have been the lead single. Now, I did see them live. I should say, actually, I think on these albums, all bar one, I've seen all of these artists live this year. So, yeah, like I say, I've seen them live at Newcastle City Hall. Fantastic set, although they only did 11 songs. And the best song was Jumpin' Jack Flash, which obviously a cover. But I would like them to do another album. Obviously, Oasis are back together now. So, whether we get another one or not, I don't know. But this is better, in my opinion at least, than any of Liam's other solo albums. That's just what I think. You probably disagree. Okie dokie then, coming in at number 5, we have Small Time Monsters by the Dream Machine. Now, if you've seen my video last year of my favourite albums of 2023, I'm just checking if that's the mark, I think it's just the cover. My favourite albums of 2023, you'll see that the Dream Machine's debut album was number 4, I think, last year. Now, this one, obviously, here, it's only number 5. It's lower on the list because I personally don't think this is as good an album as what their debut was. I have reviewed this album, basically like this monsters theme. I don't like monsters, it's a bit weird in my opinion, and not good weird, it's just a bit strange. So yeah, for that reason, it kind of puts me off this album. It came out in July, and when it came out and I first listened to it, I didn't like it all that much for the most part. It has grown on me, thankfully now though, and I do think it's a great album, and I would recommend it, although if you haven't heard The Dream Machine, which you probably haven't, because they're a small band, I would go the debut over this one personally. But Bring Back the Wonder, the closing track on here, is absolutely fantastic. It is one of the best songs I've heard this year. It is, without doubt, it is in a different league to everything else on this album. But there's also other great songs. Cindy's Eyes, My Father's Son, Holding On. Tonight I've Got Heaven in My Arms, Posters of You. Posters of You are proper little earworms, really catchy. The Horse, there's some great songs on this album, there truly is. But then songs like Frankenstein and Wolfman. Cathedral, I don't care for. So, yeah, there you go. If you can ever see them live, by the way, go and see The Dream Machine. They're a fantastic live band, and hopefully we'll get album 3 from them soon, which will be a little better than this one, although this isn't a bad album, but it's not as strong in my opinion. Okie dokie then, folks. Number 4, we have Come Ahead by Primal Scream. This was released in November. Fantastic to have Primal Scream back. Last time they released an album properly was 2016, so it's good to finally have a new Scream album again. And it's a really, really good one. Lyrics on here are absolutely fantastic. They are Bobby Gillespie's greatest ever lyrics on this album. Standout tracks for me are Heal Yourself and False Flags. Probably Heal Yourself would get the edge of those two as well. It's a fantastic song. On the subject of Heal Yourself as well, this album, the way it starts, it is such a strong start. Side one of the vinyl, the first 3 tracks, if you're listening on streaming, is absolutely fantastic. Ready to Go Home, Love Insurrection, Heal Yourself is just brilliant. It's just like, wow, it just blows you away when you listen to them 3 songs back to back. Innocent Money is also great, which is the 4th track, but then Melancholy Man, it's alright, but it kind of, the wheels come off a wee bit there. So yeah, it's a great album, but it's a very long album. I will say that it's a very, like most of the songs are getting, 5-6 minutes in length. I think the shortest on here is probably about 3 minutes in length, which is not a long song when it's about that length. But yeah, some of the songs I think could have been shortened a little bit. But for that reason, I do like this album. It's a really good album. I don't listen to it all that often because it's just too long. I'll listen to certain tracks from it, but in terms of from start to finish, I have to be in the mood to listen to it. But I haven't seen Primal Scream live this year. They're the only album on this list where I haven't seen the act live, technically. So yeah, I've seen them live next year. So I'll be excited to see a lot of these songs live, especially ones like Ready to Go Home and Innocent Money. And I think Circus of Life will be good live. Hopefully Heal Yourself's in the set, because I really like Heal Yourself. So yeah, there you go. It's just on silver vinyl, so I won't bother getting it out to show you. Go and watch my review on it if you want to see that. So Primal Scream, Come Ahead, is my 4th favourite album of this year. So here we are then, the top 3. Now, I'm going to be honest, unlike last year, I struggled a little bit with the top 2 last year. But this year, I have genuinely really, really struggled with the ranking of these top 3. And I'm still not 100% sure on if I agree with this ranking, but I'm going to go with it because I have to commit eventually. So, number 3, this might raise a few eyebrows, this. I'm going with One Hand Clapping by Wings. Now, before people get on the right horse and be like, this isn't a new album, this was recorded in 1974. Well, this year it was released for the first time. Yes, it was recorded in 1974. Yes, it's been on bootlegs for years, but it has not been officially released in full until this year. Therefore, it is technically a new album, and I don't care if it was recorded in 1974. It was released this year. I mean, if you're going to play that game, this was recorded mainly in 2023, so what's the difference? If you're going to use that and say, this is an album from 1974, well, this is an album from 2023. Makes more sense in my head, maybe. Anyway, yes, One Hand Clapping. So, if you don't know what this is a live album from Wings. This is Wings, this is Paul McCartney at his absolute peak. And in terms of the songs on here, they are better than anything else on this list, and ordinarily, if these were brand new songs, this would be number 1 and it wouldn't even be a competition. The reason why it's only number 3, it's a live album and they're not new songs. There's nothing on here that is like, it's a live performance. It's an in-studio live performance of these songs. And some fantastic performances on here. The standout for me, this may be surprising to a lot of people, is Sally G. Paul on his own, an acoustic guitar playing Sally G on here is absolutely fantastic. I love it. But it's fantastic. Obviously, some of this stuff has been released on archive collections over the year. This is the first time it's been released in full. Jet's fantastic. Soily, this is the only, well, we've had a few live recordings of Soily. There isn't a proper studio version of Soily, so this is the closest we get to a studio version of it. Sea Moon, Maybe I'm Amazed, My Love, Bluebird, Band on the Run, Live and Let Die, 1985, Babyface, Let Me Roll It, Blue Moon of Kentucky, Power Cut, Let It Be, Long and Winding Road, Lady Madonna, Junior's Farm, Sally G, Tomorrow, Go Now, Wildlife, High, High, High. It's great stuff, and even the stuff I haven't mentioned is fantastic. So, One Hand Clapping, it is brilliant. I am so pleased we have had this year, and as far as I'm concerned, it is a new album. It is. So, yeah, it's fantastic. I think that's all I've got to say. The artwork is not great, I will admit that. I went to see the film of One Hand Clapping in the cinema as well back in September, I think it was. Again, absolutely fantastic. Really did enjoy seeing the film on the big screen and hearing all the audio. So give this a listen. If you haven't heard it, it is Wings at their peak. It is Paul McCartney at his absolute peak, and what a brilliant album this is. It's probably one of the albums I've listened to the most this year. I really have enjoyed One Hand Clapping. Yeah, that's how you do it. Oh, by the way, I'll hold it back up, I forgot to add, there's also some tracks on here where I would go to the versions on this album than I would on the studio recording. For example, Junior's Farm on here, I think Junior's Farm, the performance on here is better than the studio recording now. If I want to listen to Junior's Farm, this will be where I go to it. I'm not going to the original single version because this is just better. Goes to show, as I've said many times, Venus and Mars, that era of Wings, it all needs a remix and everything turned up, because this is Junior's Farm turned up and it's brilliant. And he sings the full version. He never sings the full version live. Okie dokie then, folks. Number 2, and again, it's been a bit of a struggle here deciding what to put. Number 2, number 1. Again, these two could have gone either way, as could one hand clapping. But I have decided, and part of me is thinking, should this be number 1? I don't know, but we're gonna go with the Lemon Twigs. A Dream Is All We Know at number 2. So Lemon Twigs, I discovered this band this year, right at the start of the year in January. I discovered Everything Harmony, which was the album that came out last year. I didn't hear it last year. If I had heard Everything Harmony last year, it'd have been on my list of best albums of 2023. And it'd probably have been 3rd place last year, I'd have put Everything Harmony. But this album obviously came out in May this year, and it is absolutely fantastic. It's a lot more upbeat than Everything Harmony was, and there's some fantastic songs on here. They Don't Know How to Fall in Place is the standout track of the album, and in my opinion, for me, They Don't Know How to Fall in Place is the best song of this year. It's my song of the year. It's not the song I've listened to the most, but it's definitely my song of the year. I absolutely adore it. But this album, it's a rare case here of it's all killer and there is no filler. Not one bad track on it. My Golden Years is fabulous. Church Bells, Dream Is All We Know, the title track is fantastic. Dream Is All We Know is very Wings sound, very McCartney. Sweet Vibrations, great. In the Eyes of the Girl is fantastic. It's co-written with Sean Lennon. It's very Beach Boys. You and I Are Not Wise, How Can I Love Her More, Ember Days, Peppermint Rose. I love Peppermint Rose, it's fantastic. I Should Have Known Right From the Start, and Rock On Over and Over, fantastic closing track, very glam rock. Seeing the Lemon Twigs live in, when did I see the Lemon Twigs live? September, and they were a fantastic live band. They did most of this album live. It was absolutely brilliant, and I would love to see them live again. Whenever they're next here in Britain, I will 100% be going to see the Lemon Twigs again. It was a fantastic show. So I'll show you the vinyl. I have reviewed this album, so I'll link it below if I remember. Front cover, the back cover. There you go. We've got the personnel there, and you've got the lyrics there, which is always good to have. So Blood Records this, and it's a very sexy vinyl. Look at that. It's kind of a bit like an ice cream, I see this. I can't remember what it's actually advertised as being in terms of the colour, but it's one of the most beautiful vinyls that I've got this year, I will say. So yeah, that would be my number 2. It would be Dream Is All We Know, the Lemon Twigs. I'm very excited for whatever their next album is. We didn't have to wait long for this one, obviously. Last album only came out last year, so they're playing some new songs live. I don't think there'll be anything new from them next year, because I think they need a little bit of a rest, but it's nice. And in terms of pure talent as well, I would say they are a proper underrated band, the Lemon Twigs, if you haven't heard them. They are arguably the most, not McCartney, obviously McCartney's on this list, but compared to all the other bands on this list, they're they're probably more talented, because just the way they do harmonies and all the instrumentation and everything, it's very 60s and very 70s. If you haven't heard the album and you love your 60s music, your 70s music, give this a listen. You will not regret it. So yeah, it was very, very close to being number 1, but then again, so was one hand clapping. And that, ladies and gentlemen, just leaves us with the number 1 position, and you've probably worked out what it is by now if you know me. It's Gary by Blossoms. So yes, Gary, I love this artwork, by the way. It's a brilliant cover with the writing on the back. So this album, yes, this is Blossom's 5th album. It came out in September, and I've got to be honest with you, first time I heard this album, I didn't really like it. I was a bit underwhelmed. Same with the singles. Like when I first heard What Can I Say After I'm Sorry, I didn't care for it. I didn't really get blown away by it. But thankfully, it's all grown on me, and I think this is, it's obviously a great album. It's my number 1 album of this year. And I would go as far as to say now, and I never thought I would say this is the best Blossoms album. I never thought Foolish Living Spaces would ever be topped, and yet it has. So this album is the album I've listened to most this year on my Apple Music replay. It's number 1 by quite some distance. I also kind of followed Blossoms on tour this year. I've been at 6 Blossoms gigs this year, so yeah, I obviously like them enough. I obviously like this album enough to go and see them 6 times. In terms of this copy, this is just a black vinyl. In the frame up there, I have a Blood Records version, which is quite nice. But it's in a frame, so I'm not getting that out. I've also got the Bad World version, which is the liquid vinyl, which again, I haven't got that out. I should have really for this. But if you want to see it, go and watch my Gary review. I show all that off in that video. So, yeah, like I say, first listen, it didn't really impact me, this album. I didn't really care for it, and now I absolutely love it. Yeah, when this first came out, I can tell you, based on first listen, and the Lemon Twigs would definitely be #1 this year above this, but it's grown on me, and it's Gary. Standout track, I would say, is Gary, the title track. I may be a little biased because my dad's called Gary, so I've loved it from the get-go, that song. But again, it's all great stuff, really. Big Star, what can I say after I'm Sorry I Like Your Look? Perfect Me, Mothers, Slow Down, Why Do I Always Give You the Worst of Me? I've just noticed this is a deluxe one with the bonus tracks. It doesn't list Nightclub on the standard album, and it doesn't list one of the bonus tracks. I can't remember which bonus track it doesn't list. I don't know why. It's obviously a error. Blossoms are watching, they won't be. But if they are, you've missed out tracks on the back of here. Anyway, so that's my #1 album this year, Gary by Blossoms. If you haven't heard it, give it a listen. But I'm telling you, the top 3 albums this year, they're all killer. They're all absolutely brilliant. Gary, One Hand Clapping, Dream Is All We Know. Any other day, you know, they could interchange easily. If One Hand Clapping had all been brand new songs that hadn't been heard before, it would be a #1, it would be above this. But as it stands, this is all new stuff. It's all brilliant. So yeah, it's been a great year, I think, for music this year. We've had some great albums, and I'm very excited for next year. Looking forward, looking ahead. Speaking of look ahead, we've got a new Ringo album, a country album coming out in January, which I'm excited for that. New Sam Fender album coming in February or March. I think it's back end of February. And God knows what else we'll get. Maybe we'll get an Oasis album. Who knows? All the rumours say we're not, but you never know. Rumours can be wrong. Always told us Oasis weren't getting back together. So yeah, there you go. There is my list. Thank you very much for watching. Do feel free to share yours in the comments, what your favourite albums of this year are. Maybe I should do a video of other albums I've discovered this year from other years. Like I say, Everything Harmony from last year, that was brilliant. An album called Titanic Rising from 2019. That's a fantastic album I've discovered this year. I've drawn a blank now, so I can't remember what else. Anyway, yes, thank you very much for watching, and have a wonderful Christmas time, simply having a wonderful Christmas time, and have a happy new year. I hope 2025 is a good one, and I will see you in the new year. Until then though, please do take care.